Yo, what's up Instagram? So this video is about whether we should sue China over the COVID-19 global pandemic, or as some politicians may call it, also known as
Kung flu. That's wrong. Kung flu. And do you think
Chinese virus, it comes from China. It comes from China. It comes from China.
A new report carried out by the Henry Jackson Society in the UK has found that the G7 nations alone should be compensated $6.5 trillion. The authors of this report argued that the Chinese government's early handling of the disease and failure to adequately report information to the World Health Organization breached several articles of the international health regulations of which China is a signatory. The organization claims the breaches allowed for the virus to quickly spread outside of Wuhan, where it originated. It alleges the Chinese government failed to disclose data that would have shown evidence of human-to-human transmission for a period of up to 3 weeks from being aware of it, and it gave the World Health Organization incorrect information about the rate of infections from January 2nd to January 11th. It also claims authorities allowed 5 million people to leave Wuhan before introducing a lockdown on January 23rd. It cited a study from the University of Southampton, which previously found the spread of COVID-19 would have been reduced by 95% had strict quarantine measures been introduced as 3 weeks earlier. As a result of these alleged breaches, the body said China could face hefty potential damages, including $700 billion from the UK and $60 billion from Australia, and said public international lawyers might make use of relevant clauses in order to uphold international norms and to force China to pay up. Bitch, better have my money! You might think that 6.5 trillion is a bit excessive for the G7 countries, but China can afford it. It's half their GDP. But what about the other nations that aren't in the G7? Should they just get half of the rest of the GDP? Or should they get something else? Luckily for China, a lot of the world is heavily indebted to China. They owe them billions of dollars. So how about instead of a monetary compensation, we just squash the debt? We're even Steven. All of those Central Asian, African, and Eastern European countries that you heavily invested in no longer owe you any debt for the infrastructure you built. But the Chinese government may say, hey, this isn't fair. We came in, we gave you guys jobs, we built you infrastructure. Well, I mean, is it though? Did you give them jobs? This is an African workforce right here. As you can see, they've got one token African and it looks like the rest have just been shipped in from China to do the work, you know. Whether Chinese investment in Africa has been a good thing has been a controversial topic. In 2007, Michael Sata, a Zambian politician, wrote a paper presented at Harvard University. It said, European colonial exploitation in comparison to Chinese exploitation appears benign, because even though the commercial exploitation was just as bad, the colonial agents also invested in social and economic infrastructure. Chinese investment, on the other hand, is focused on taking out of Africa as much as it can be taken out without any regard to the welfare of the local people. You might be like, well, cool, bruh, but what about their high quality bridges and stuff, you know? You gotta pay for them. Everyone knows that Chinese infrastructure is high quality. What? A Chinese-built bridge collapses in Kenya 2 weeks after it was inspected by the president. What? What is this? I thought this was some world-class infrastructure. This is why they're getting these billion-dollar loans from the government and getting the Chinese to come and build them even after they promised local jobs. Why are they falling down? What is this? Imagine getting into billions of dollars of debt with China and this is what you end up with. Oh God. So what should we do? Should we pressure China into paying us trillions of dollars in compensation? If we unanimously all decide to do that, then China will have no other choice but to pay the world, otherwise they'll end up isolated like North Korea. Or should we just cancel all debt owing to China and call it even Steven?